Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the So Free and with Z podcast. Well, actually, So Free and Single with Z. Y'all know that's my tagline, so I got to make sure I don't get it mixed up. But thank you all for joining us today. Please excuse a few technical issues. You all know how this goes, working all the way out of hotel travel, because you all know that's what I do. I'm always on the go. But since y'all here with me, thank you for joining us today with the So Free and Single with Z podcast. So I'm excited. I'm really excited about today. We have a topic, kind of a touchy topic today. So I'm glad that you're here to join us. As I always say when we start the show, that, hey, we are not professionals that are dating experts or any of those different things. We are regular folks that are here just talking about the things that single folks talk about, having just on these dating streets. So I'm excited about my guest today. I'm excited about our topic today. But as we know, I always start off with a little known dating facts. All right. So today's little dating fact says, let's see here. Psychologists at the University of Pennsylvania studied data from over 10,000 daters and found that most people make a decision regarding a person's attraction within 3 seconds of meeting. 3 seconds. So you mean to tell me if you met me and in 3 seconds you've decided that I'm the one or that you want to date? Hey, I mean, I guess so. Because I guess if you're a turnoff, I'm going to know that right away too. So I guess again it works the same way. But with that being said, I want us to talk about today's topic. Today's topic is called In Sickness and in Health, because you may have chose me in that first couple of seconds, but what you may not have prepared for was tragedy or something happening and trying to change up your thoughts and ideas and patterns. So let's see what we want to say about how that goes, how that pans out when something does change. So I'm going to bring on my two guests here. I've got Gregory and Carla. Oh my gosh, thank y'all for joining us today. Thank you. You.
Hey.
Hey. Well, I know I've already said y'all names, but here we go. Y'all tell us who you are, where you're joining us from. Tell the people.
My name is Carla Woodard. I'm from the great city of Fort Worth, Texas. And born and raised here. Texas is home to me. And one fun fact about me, I am a musician outside of work and everything. So if anybody looking for any type of entertainment, I do weddings, I do birthday parties, retirement parties, so on and so forth. So book me, follow me on social media.
Awesome. I am Gregory Devon out of Durham, North Carolina. Always a pleasure to be on the show with Z. Looking forward to an enlightening conversation.
All right. Well, thank y'all again for joining today. So we're going to talk about this here. All right. So dating. You're dating someone or you've met someone, and like we said, might have been that 3 seconds, might have been longer, when you decided this is the person that I want to date. So you've been dating, and then all of a sudden, tragedy happens. Okay. Has that happened to either one of y'all?
It has never happened to me. No.
For me, it has happened. I had experienced just as far as with the partner at that particular time was like illness. Just something like along the lines of chest pains. So it was a lot of going back and forth to the doctor, back and forth to the hospital, while trying to work full time and other responsibilities and other obligations at that particular season, of life. And It was hard, it was challenging. There were many times where, as the person that's trying to be supportive and understanding, um it was hard for me to find a way to be able to like cope with it, properly. But I had to be strong. I had to carry the load, at that particular moment, because at that particular moment, the health was at risk. And so I just had to be supportive. I had to, show that I understood, and I did understand. But at the same time, it could change the dynamics of the relationship, to the point where it can make it or break it, type situation. But at the end of the day, I think it comes down to commitment. If you care about that person, if you love that person, you're going to support them and be there for them, like, through it all.
That's real good. What you said is is real profound, because I've actually experienced um, dating someone even at a very young age. I can think back to even being 17 and dating someone that had, health conditions. And for me, even at that age, I guess maybe just the nature of who I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I liked you before I knew this was a thing.
Right,
So it's, why would I stop there,
right,
But
right.
I think out of I could say in my life, I've had four probably major relationships, just
Hmm.
total that are, and three dealt with health problems, like
Yeah,
serious health problems.
right.
Uh, so, I mean, I just kind of did what I had to do. I mean, I guess the conversation is, are we, if you're in the dating stages, are you
Well, I think Z might have went out. I think she was finna say, if you're in the dating phase, is there an obligation for one to stay? I
Hmm.
think she's going to ask that question. Here she goes.
yes. Hey, yes, that was the question.
Well, for me, I don't feel that you're obligated in the dating phase, because I think that a lot of things for me have to be considered. And the number one thing I have to think about in dating is myself. And that might sound selfish, but I
Hmm.
think that before I make the decision to marry, I have to ask myself, can I take this person as they are? And do I have the capacity mentally, emotionally, and even financially to engage this situation beforehand, or will I have a problem with that within marriage? I think that it's not. It sounds selfish, but it's not. I think you have to really assess the situation. I think the age kind of impacts this too, because I
Mhm.
would never expect someone who was 20 something to
Mhm.
make the same decision somebody who's 40 would make.
Yeah.
So I think someone that's 40 might be more amped to say, you know what, I may work with this, as opposed to the 25-year old was like, I didn't sign up for this. And I think
Mhm.
that it's okay for one to realize that my practical reality might be this, but at the end of the day, do I have an obligation to this reality? Because I have made no final commitment to you, because I'm not in a
Mhm.
marriage with you. I'm not in covenant with you. Now, if I'm married, it's total different ball game, totally different
Yeah.
rules. But if we're in a relationship, we got to have an open and honest conversation. And if one's decision is to say, you know what, I can't handle this forever, you got to
Mhm.
respect that.
Yeah, that's tough, and it really has a lot to do, I think, with your life experiences, where you are mentally. I think it has a lot to do with that, because I think about it, my mate at 17, of course we weren't married, but for me it was just like, hey, I guess this is what we're doing. This is,
Yeah.
and I rocked with it. But I don't know that that's a typical 17-year-old response.
No.
I think that there are are many that would be like, yeah, no, yeah, this is too much already. But my paradigm was so different, dealing with a mother who was ill from the time I was 11 and passed when I was 18. So for me, it was just, hey, I'm just gonna roll with it. We're this is part of life, But I think you're right. That response would look a little different from your typical teenager. If I see you just go with the flow, yeah, yeah, I do, right, cousin. That's exactly what I did. I would go with the flow. So yeah, that I think does make a difference. What do you think about that, Carla, as far as like age difference?
Age definitely plays a factor, and I'll go on to say, like, you can potentially have someone like in their 20s, right? But they're so mature acting as if they are in their 40s. So it definitely can just depend on the age, depending on the experience, as Mr. Gregory stated, as well as, like the situation, I think can determine the aspects of the relationship.
Yeah.
For example, if you have someone like with a severe illness, right? Like, if I don't take care of myself, I can transition versus, all I'm just dealing with a cold or something like that, so
Mhm.
I think it can depend on the severity of the condition as well. That will determine
Yeah.
if, people want to, continue in the dating or continue in the relationship. But as he stated, like with marriage, it's a different ball game. It's not like you can just, okay, I'm gonna pack my bags and leave, because
Right.
you stated those vows, and those vows are between one another as well as before the Most High. So it's a different territory at that point.
There's three things I
Well,
would have to ask myself, Z and
Hmm.
Carla. One would be like, do I even have the grace to walk with you
Hmm.
forever
mm,
through this? Because
Hmm.
it's not just a season, it's forever.
That's
And
right.
then I have to
right.
ask myself, does like would this illness alter the call on my life and where I'm going? Can I fulfill the mission of my life, but still have to be your caretaker, possibly, right?
Right.
And I think that like the Bible talks about God love a cheerful giver, right? God
Uh-huh.
don't want coerced sacrifice. He
That's
want
right.
cheerful
Right.
giving. So if I'm with you and I know that I'm going to have an issue, like with this forever, this is not me cheerfully giving myself. This is guilt,
Hmm.
and I'm feeling
Huh.
the
True.
obligation to
That's
stay
right.
with you. It's guilt. So it's like if I stay with you because you are sick,
Hmm.
we're not married, and I know I have an issue, it's really me having coerced sacrifice as opposed to being obedient or cheerfully giving of myself. I'm going to live to regret that. And honestly, it's going to
Right.
sound bad. I'm sorry, but you might be more apt to cheat on that person.
Okay. Okay. Hold on. And I'm sorry, I'm having a little interruption in service right here.
No worries.
Okay, but okay, so I hear what y'all are saying. So I'm here. I'm taking this in. Do y'all think people stay? That there are a lot of people that just stay because of that, because of the guilt. You think people do that?
I do. I think that nobody wants to be the bad guy.
Hmm.
And I think that it is understood that, well, let me stay because if we love each other, then it'll work itself out. It'll be perfect. No, it won't. Love does not stop you from feeling away. Love does not
Right.
stop you from moving outside of your relationship. Love does not stop you from feeling guilt. It doesn't. I think that if we're not honest with ourselves, a lot of people they mix they mix marital commitment with dating and relationship commitment. And it is not the same thing. It is not. Because when I marry you, I have said till death do us part, sickness
Right.
and in health, better or worse. I
Or
haven't said that.
Yep.
within dating and relationship. I understand that the goal of the relationship is to be married, yes. But when dynamics change within this relationship, I do have the right to change my mind, and there is nothing saying that I am wrong for that, because I do have to consider the life that I desire for myself. And if I desire this life with you, and now something serious happens that alters that reality, we have to have a conversation, right? You have to tell me how you feel. I tell you how I feel. And the other side of that coin is the person who is sick might build a resentment towards the person who is not sick, because they feel like you are staying out of obligation and that you don't really love me. You're just here. So it's never a one-way street. That's why I really have to exhaust all possibilities in that conversation. And you got to be really real with yourself and ask yourself again, can I handle the weight of this reality?
Right. Yeah. I think that part gets left off a lot. Like, we can really have developed a love and care for somebody, but not realize everything that comes along with caring for somebody in certain circumstances, certain conditions. You know, if you've got to walk with someone, and I'm just throwing out some random examples, if you got to walk with someone through chemo, or someone that's
Right.
having heart issues, or
Right.
someone who's having, something that's going to be potentially even terminal.
Right.
And even think about that. You've fallen in love with somebody, you've fallen for somebody that you're just still in the dating phase. You haven't made that commitment, but now they have something that's terminal. So you already know you're not going to be able to spend the rest of your life with that person. Like, I mean, now it's a little
Iffy.
different now.
Yeah.
That
And it
can get a
messes
little.
with you. Yeah. It messes with you mentally, psychologically. Because then at the same time you could be doing a disservice, I like to say, to your person when you're not fully there, like you're not supporting, or like he was stating,
Mhm.
like you there just to be there, just out of shame and guilt. So at the same time, you're still doing a dissatisfaction in the relationship.
Right. And you see like different like Lifetime movies, and the people are just
Mhm.
like, well, I may never get a chance to marry someone
Mhm.
ever again. And so I need you to be here or I need you to marry me at my bedside. So I can say that I went to my grave with this. But is that fair if that person is like, I don't know, is that really a fair thing? I don't know. What do y'all think?
I always say, Z and Carla, that dating is a season of discernment. The Bible says that Amos 3:3, two can't walk together unless they agree. So you got to figure out how much agreement do we have in this season of discernment. Sickness
Yeah.
does not change that, because we
Right.
still have to ask ourselves again in this season of discernment, have I righteously uh righteously judged this moment and this season to figure out, am I prepared, even if it's no sickness, can I handle
Right.
the weight of marriage? That's the
Right.
weight by itself. Now add sickness to that.
Come
That's
on.
another
Right.
weight. So now it's like, can I handle double what this is would have been previously? Because again, like, let's just look at a financial aspect.
Mhm.
Most homes require two incomes, even when that man might pay the majority, but it still kind
Right.
of required two incomes. Well, now I've got not just that responsibility, I've got added stuff now. Depending upon what your illness is, it may require extra things medically, that insurance may not pay for, because we have to think practically too. On the practical side, there are a lot of things people think that insurance pay for, it does not. Even things that are
Right.
necessary medically, sometimes insurance don't pay for it, because they'll find loopholes in there to get out of paying for certain things that are needed. So now think about that. That's stress, right? Suppose you've got not just marriage, not just sickness, but we had 2 children.
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Might have been our children, might have been your children, and you sick.
Mm.
Now I've got to take on that too. And I know people hearing this conversation are like, man, he's just trifling, ain't he? No, I'm just being real. Because I
100.
mean,
Yep.
you gotta ask yourself, man, that's a lot of extra responsibility that I'm gonna have to take on by myself now. And again, it is better for you to gracefully and prayerfully bow out if you know this is not a reality that I am prepared for, as opposed to get in the thing and we in the middle of thick and thin and all this going on, and now you say, I can't handle it.
Yeah.
And get divorced. I'd rather you understand that prior to making that marital commitment and before you break a vow. That's honorable to say in the beginning, you know what, before I can't do that. I'm at the vow grace.
I can imagine that. I mean, I am an ovarian cancer survivor. So but I went through that in marriage. So that was different, but even then it was a hardship. I mean, like you said, there are extra bills that come along with it. We had children and there's like you said, insurance covers so much, I get that. And even the season of my life, dating, I went through some medical things and it was like, yeah, I get it. This is a lot. And I was fortunate, at the time to have people that stuck by my side, but I get it. I mean, there's a lot to it. But I've also been on the other side, being single, I think of last year, the different things that I dealt with, and it would have been nice to have someone by my side, pushing me through all that, even just the mental of it. But I also understand that would have been a lot for somebody that I was just meeting or just getting to know. They were like, wait, this could go bad, because it could have. I mean, thank God it didn't. Thank God he had the final say on that. Yes and amen. But it could have went bad. Right. I could have been mad if somebody was like, yeah, too much. So,
and I think sometimes people get a misunderstanding that, like, when you're dating or you're in a relationship, that automatically, if you have someone, that your problems just gonna suddenly ease up. But it's like everything is, like he was saying, is double trouble, basically, because you're still dealing with your own personal challenges in life, and then your partner is dealing with their own stuff. And now you're saying, like, hey, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. So now it's more additional responsibilities,
right?
And so at the end of the day, you have to work together, like, from that standpoint. But like he was saying, if you're not ready, ready from the get-go, I'd rather you tell me up front, and first. I may get mad at that moment, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna thank you in the long run, because neither one of us wasted time. And time is something that is so precious and that you can't get back. So we have to do what's best for, like, each of us individually, at that particular moment.
Agreed.
Within dating, there's a level of convenience that I can operate in, as opposed to marriage. It's covenant now. And that is what really changes the dynamic, is that within dating, I've got a level of convenience, and it's okay for me to walk in that, because this is my season of discovery. I'm trying to figure out, okay, I'm trying to discern, okay, I love her. I have seen myself being married to her. So I'll change and say this now. I might decide that I want to stick this out with this person, right? Because I've said, you know what? I love her, and I imagine our life this way.
Yeah.
But now that I know what's going on, whatever it is, whether it's cancer, or whatever it is. We have talked, and now you and I have reimagined another life.
And
Right.
So
tragedy can
now
be
we
right.
say, you know what? Instead of like psychology calls it cognitive reframing, when you view something from a different perspective now,
Mhm.
instead of me saying that, you know what, she's got something that's causing us to whatever, I say, you know what, life has given us a challenge to where you and I decided, you know what, to scrap these blueprints,
Mhm.
create new blueprints. Now we're going to build this together, right?
Right.
Because even though you're sick, I'm still saying, but it's still you and I that have the responsibility to build what we have drawn out together, right? But we have to be very clear now. I'm going to do this. You do this. And it's not a competition. It's about
Right.
realizing that we both are going to put our hands to the plow, right?
Right.
And build this thing, because we're saying, you know what, we love each other, and we do believe, as Matthew 19:6, what God has joined together, let no man put us under. And if we're going to believe that, then we're going to say, you know what, forsaking not just all others, but forsaking whatever comes our way.
Yeah.
I've reached the point before marrying you that I have already seen you as my wife. So maybe there's something in me that, while I'm not obligated to, for better or worse, just yet, I
Yeah.
have already become so close to you because I view you as my wife that in my head, I can't see you any other way. So maybe I can't see myself walking
Right.
away,
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
because I can't imagine life, or I don't want to imagine life without you. So I'm going to marry you anyway, because I'm not going to look at you through these. I'm going to look at
Mm.
you through the lens of God. And in that lens, you have not changed. And I think
Mm.
it takes for us to learn how to view people through the lens of God, that when situations happen, even outside of sickness, that I still see you for the soul God created.
Mm. That's good. That's good. Y'all, let's take a quick break because I'm about to push this a little further, right? Y'all know I'm gonna push this. I mean, it wouldn't be me if I didn't push this a little bit further. So let's take a quick commercial break and come right on back.
You've met Dr. Z. Now let's meet Xandra. Go to www.xandraweb.com and pick up your copy of When the Heart Cries, or a copy of When Church Girls Cheat, which is also available on Audible. Treat yourself.
All right, we are back with the So Free and Single with Z podcast. And right now, we are talking about in sickness and health, because this is something that we have to consider. We could be dating somebody, we could fall for them, we could really like them, and then tragedy strikes or they get really ill. And we've been talking about, are we obligated to stay with them? Maybe not obligated, but should we or should we not? And some of the ideas are the thoughts that have been shared are like, no, you really have to really evaluate yourself on that.
Yeah.
Are you up for the challenge with that?
Right.
So I'm gonna push this just a little bit more in true Z fashion here.
Push it.
Come on.
Okay, so you're with this person, and like you shared before, you see yourself with this person, you love this person, but then you realize that the things that they are going through are going to seriously alter probably their sex life. It's going to alter, you said, we talked about financial life, or it's going to just alter the way that they're able to respond. Maybe they've gotten a bad accident and they're paralyzed, like from the waist down. But I mean, you saw this future with them. You are deeply, madly in love with them. It was just a matter of time. Now what? because these are things that could really, really make a difference in a relationship, sexually, financially, physically. So, yeah. Or even I'm thinking, even when I think physically, also, say they ended up in a fire and now half of their face is burned. And so, all of these different things. What about that now?
I think it comes down to just the aspects of commitment. Once you say you love someone and you are passionate about them, you cherish them, you see a potential future with them, just keeping in the back of our minds, like moving forward, that looks will change over time, right?
Mhm.
So just keeping that in the back of our mind and just understanding that as time passes, we become older, our appearance may change, and as you just stated, like something can happen, a job loss, like whatever, or someone have kids, or somebody kids pop up out of nowhere saying you are my mother or you are my father. But if you love that person, you gonna stick with it. Like I always tell people, like you gonna ride with them forever and ever if you love them unconditionally. Because at the end of the day, it just goes to the fact of understanding that no one is perfect. We all make mistakes. We all have our flaws. We all have things that we can improve on each and every day. So just understanding that maybe I saw you as a certain way when we first met, but as time passes, your body gonna change. It's just a part of getting older, but you're also getting wiser at the same time. So it just comes down to, do you love me for me, or do you love me for what I have to offer?
Mhm.
If it's financial gain, right, or status, because you have some people today that are together just because they don't want to be alone, or you have people that are together that are in separate bedrooms acting as roommates. So it just depends on the aspect of that relationship at that particular moment. But then you have to ask yourself, am I in it thinking about marriage? Am I thinking about for better or for worse? Because
Mhm.
the vows tell us you gonna be tried, you're gonna be challenged, for better or for worse, for richer or for poor. So it's already telling you beforehand, like, hey, this is what can happen. If you decide to get married and move forward.
All right, caller. Now put me in E flat. Now,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yes.
no, I agree with you, but and I'll say so. If I can go to the book of R&B and chapter, Bobby Brown.
Ah,
Bobby Brown said, "The truth about Aroni is a sweet little girl,
yeah.
sweetest little girl in the whole wide world."
Yes.
So, if that is my view of my baby, I'm feeling you. Like I'm really gonna want to work this thing out
Mhm.
and stay, because I'm doing my best to still view her again through the lens of love, through the lens of God, right? But I also have to be, to her question, I'm gonna have to be fair to especially the sexual aspect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, depending upon your age, right? Where you might have a lot more intimacy to
Energy.
potentially have,
Uh-huh.
right? Let's say one is 30,
Mm-hmm.
35.
Hmm.
You're young and you're tender. You
Uh-huh.
understand? And you've been listening to the In Vogue talk about give him something he can feel,
That's
know
right.
that
That's
love is
appropriate.
real. You got to think about now all the times you're going to come home, but if this person cannot, it's one thing if they can't a lot, right? But if they can't at all, that's a large part of marriage, especially depending upon, again, your age, right? And if we cannot engage in that, and let's say you happen to have a large sexual appetite, and you're not wrong for that.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have to have a conversation about that?
Man. Mm-hmm.
And we got to decide how we're going to handle that. Now, I know somebody's asking, how do you handle that? I don't know.
Come on.
That's why I'm saying you have to ask yourself, man, is this like, there's a thing called practical wisdom, and it's like practically, I'm gonna need some sweet potato pie, and I don't mean to want to go in the oven. You know, so I mean, if my sweet tooth is what it is, and I fool myself and enter that marriage knowing that there's no possibility for me to ever enjoy sweets, there is no way on God's green earth I'm gonna survive. I don't care how much praying and fasting that you do.
Right.
But your flesh is designed. See, the church don't say this. I'm gonna say it for the pastors.
Thank you.
The church ain't gonna tell you this. Your flesh is supposed to do what it does.
Right.
Your flesh supposed to get around. You supposed to wanna. Even the Bible says, don't deny your partner except for time of prayer and fasting. And then it says, make sure you don't do that too long, lest you be tempted. That's the word. So at the end of the day, you got to really be for real and say, you know what, God, the way my sexuality is set up, I got to check it in a savings. All my money is in my checking. It'll take about 4 business days. But you know what I'm saying? You got to realize, okay, you know what? Something got to fill this up. And if it's not my partner, then what's it going to be? So do I want to enter this thing knowing that I'm going to have to go outside of my marriage to get this thing fulfilled? And I'm not advocating that. I want to make that clear. But I'm just saying, you got to be clear and realistic and honest with yourself about what's not a possibility. You're never going to be sexually satisfied ever. So will intimacy be enough? That's a question for you, Z.
That's for real. Like, right, because you telling me like we got together and whatever. I can't even
perfect
whatever phase we are in. And so, because I'm always speaking to the believer and the unbeliever. So especially if you already getting it in, okay? And then tragedy happens, and now you can't get it in, and it may be looking questionable for years to come, if not indefinitely. Oh, that's gonna be a problem. And for someone to say that I'm gonna tough this out because I'm in love, man, you gonna be in not just in love, you're gonna be in somebody else's bed sooner than later. If you're
don't turn tank on.
Right, listen.
R. Kelly.
Right.
Your soul.
Exactly. You trying to go somewhere that cannot be gone to.
Listen.
Be careful. Be careful. Be careful.
Yes. Be careful. That tank will get you in trouble. But
forgive me, sweet Jesus. Forgive me.
I'm sorry. I don't want to get struck by lightning. I'm sorry.
Right. Hey, well, I'm just saying, if you tell me our sexual life is over because of something that happened, like I could be deeply in love with you, and I can still have seen my future with you, but you've changed, like you say, you've changed the scene now. Yeah. So the view is different. So our future can't look like how we said or imagined or planned it to be. So I think people have to be realistic about it and say, I can't see myself in a relationship. Like, I have a high sex drive. I can't see myself in a relationship where you could be months and months that you're too ill and not want to have sex. Yeah, that ain't the future I envision for myself. And I can't see myself committing to that. But are people going to do that though? Are they going to be realistic and say, yeah, or are they going to stick there out of guilt?
I think with the way the rates are looking these days, I think the last time I looked, like the divorce rate is like I think over 80% of divorce inside the US. And the top three reasons are communication, infidelity, and finances is the reason why people are divorcing.
Yeah, and all of those things could play a role in this.
Mm-hmm.
The communication, because people aren't communicating on being honest, you know, how they really feel about the situation. Financially, hey, these medical bills come in, and then and infidelity, because I gotta get it from somewhere, you know. So
yeah,
all of those things. So if I'm going into a potential marriage with that, we talking about a potential just a tragic end at that point, or some people being really, really hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's scary to me. So yeah, what do we do? I mean, what do we do? Yeah, what do we do at this point? I mean, if you're in that situation, how do you move forward or not? I mean, what's the right way to approach that?
I think that when challenge of any time comes, you are forced to now look and view what you actually have built together, right? Let's say this is a serious relationship, like to your point, and something does happen where illness does occur, but you two actually genuinely love each other. You've not just made plans to marry, but you've made plans beyond marriage, right? It goes back to something I said earlier, in that if I have imagined this reality, I have to now reimagine another one, right? If I think that your immediate impulse to something tells you where you are in regard to that thing or that person. If your immediate thought was to run, you probably don't need to marry this person. If your immediate thought was, you know what, okay, how do we get through this? Then you've already naturally began to think that two is better than one. And you've naturally now began to think of you and this person as one, because your first thought was not a selfish thought. It was a what do we do? What can we do? So I think that tells you, and as the individual that's not sick, where you are, right?
Yeah.
If you choose to stay, I think that again, you have to again reimagine what you're building, but you got to also reimagine how to love this person, right? I think we look at love as such an inanimate object that we don't realize that love is actually something you do in a moment based upon the moment, because it doesn't always look the same. Like how you love on somebody, I can't love on this person the same now, because they require something different, because the parameters have changed. You know, we talk about that thing called unconditional love, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what we don't talk about, you know, when the Bible says that with goodness and mercy shall follow you, that is called a love called pragma, which is about a long-lasting love, right? But we don't, again, we never really look at in the Bible like what the versions of love, what they really are, because the Bible is written in Greek and Hebrew, and every time you see the word love in English, it is not the same version that you think. It ain't always romantic, right? It depends upon the relationship of the two individuals, right? It's like when Jesus said, Peter, do you love me? He said, yes, I love you, Lord. And he asked him 3 times. He asked him 3 times because Jesus was saying, do you agape me? But Peter was answering, yes, I phileo you. Mm-hmm. Well, in English, looked like just LOVE, but in that language, it was not. And because Peter was answering wrong, he asked him 2 more times, and he never got it right.
Mm.
In a relationship, I gotta ask myself, do I have that kind of long lasting love
Yeah.
for my partner? Do I have that pragma love that while sickness is gonna make me seem as if I'm having to be in the winter all the time with this person, but do I have enough sunshine
Mm.
that I can cover that and
Mhm.
still again see her as the soul that God created if something happens and chemo takes out her hair,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Something has happened that has caused something on her face to change. Well, the
Yes.
Bible says beauty is vanity. So have I learned that she's fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of God? So I'm looking at her and I've understood her beauty beyond the aesthetic because I have learned how to see not just um not just her wrapping paper, the gift inside of her. That's
Yeah.
what I've fallen in love with is the gift that she carries because that's not going to change, right? She physically is changing, but she still prays for me every day, even though she's the one that's sick.
Yeah.
Even though she's the one that's sick, she's still getting up and being my wife. She's still getting up and making meals. She's cleaning house when she's got strength. And I'm
Mm.
not limiting a woman to that. I'm just saying
Right.
Right.
traditionally
Right.
that she still wants to do those things. She does those things within the parameters of her sickness. So
Yeah.
she has learned while I cannot give Greg this like I want to, I've learned how to, I don't want to say overcompensate, but I've learned how to do what I can do very efficiently, right? Him and I, we cannot be sexually intimate often, but I have learned how to give him intimacy in other ways that we
Yeah.
did not have prior to sickness, right?
Right.
We've learned how to really enjoy the presence of each other to the point where we have actually now become best friends. And so now sex might not happen but once a month. But when it
Oh,
happens,
oh,
we
Father.
we have, we have built
Sorry.
an appreciation for it that what happens in this moment leads me into an everlasting thing that carries over to the next time because in between those 30 days we have built such a level of intimacy because we've learned to do things like not just reconnect but we can read and connect,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
We can put our face not on Facebook but face in a book
Come on.
Right.
and read it together and then talk about what we just read. We could read a romantic novel and put ourselves in the story, right?
Yeah.
And now we have reimagined that story being us. So now when you do gather the strength
Uh-huh.
to give me something I can feel,
Uh-huh.
come on now, you hear what I'm saying? It just made it that much special, right? And it might not be, it might not be in the words of R. Kelly, 12 play, might be two play, might be three play, one play. But we have learned how to be fulfilled with what
Sweet.
we have because I've learned to love you almost in another dimension. Because
Yeah.
I've learned how to love you all over again because we have rebuilt a relationship that would not exist outside this sickness.
That's really dope. And I think that if we allow, like you said, I think it has a lot to do with if you, like you said, if you view this as a I decision or a we decision when these things happen, just being able to say, what are we going to do about this? Or how are we going to handle it is a big difference between what am I going to do? And you're right. At that point where I'm saying, what am I going to do? Then I probably am not built to go forward with this
Yeah.
situation because I've already made it about me and about me alone. And that's that. And that's And I think the biggest thing is to know that there's nothing wrong with that school of thought when you're dating with someone. It may feel bad. And I've had I've heard people say that to others, like it make them feel bad. Man, you left me when I was at my low point. Man, I didn't hurt you. I didn't do that to you. That's unfair.
Right.
To say I left you in your low point. I left you because I left you, not because it didn't have to do with your low point. If you were at a high point, I probably left you still, but but I think we do have to evaluate, right? Like, how does this affect me or we? Either me or we. And when it's me, then I should probably find something else safe to do. And if it's we, then really have those discussions and that communication of what this would or could look like going forward. Because I don't know if I have enough in me to say,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, once a month or not at all. I don't know.
And that's why it's so important to like communicate about like the expectations as far as between the two
Right.
individuals involved, because at the end of the day, none of us can read one another's mind, so
Right.
it's about being upfront, being transparent, being open, being honest, because like they always say, a closed mouth never get fed. So
Right.
I don't know what you're feeling. You don't know what I'm feeling. So you'll have two people that's just, just going through the motion. And it goes back to you just wasting each other time, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Because if the expectation in the beginning was, sex once a month, then hey, this might be all right. This is gonna keep us in line. But if that wasn't the expectation, like
That
you
one
said, I'm in my
expectation. Right.
yeah.
Right. Hmm.
But if I'm in my, especially if you get together with somebody like you said later in life, y'all started dating in your late 50s, 60s. You're like, yeah, it's probably that ain't it. But in my 30s, or even in these right 40 and a halves right now.
All right.
I'm not ready. Oh my gosh, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And the Lord would have to really come sit down at the edge of my bed and speak to me directly and say, hey, Z, go ahead and make this work. He's going to have to come sit with me, tarry long with me.
Hey.
So, as we are closing out, y'all, what advice would you give to someone who is dating, they fall in love, and tragedy strikes and it changes the game up? What advice would you give them?
Ladies first.
I would say you have to, it comes down to being open, upfront of your expectations.
Hmm.
Just letting the other person know like, hey, these are the expectations. As far as what you're looking for in the dating scene, as far as what you looking for in the relationship aspect, and just being transparent. Once again, and keeping it real with everyone, because if you don't, then it can lead to other issues, other problems along the way. Similar to a person that's just doing something just to be doing it, and not no type of intention behind it, or no type of purpose or passion behind it. You're just doing it just because of image or financial gain or whatever the case may be. So just being understanding, and if you ever find yourself in that position, as far as like dating and someone is dealing with tragedy, it's about being there, being an open ear, like listening, right? And just being understanding. Understand that everybody processes things differently, and not allow anger or frustration to get the best of you, because at the end of the day, everybody takes time to heal at a different rate. It doesn't make you a bad person or anything, but it's like everybody's in a different season or moment of their life. And so with you being understanding and just having that open line of communication, You know, you might not be able to talk about the tragedy at that particular moment. You might have to say, "Hey, let's take a breather here, or let's take a break and come back and revisit this situation at a later time." Versus, you know, you talking about the incident or you talking about the tragedy, and it ends up in an argument, you know, unnecessarily. So just having that common ground, establishing those boundaries, because boundaries are important, just in relationships in general, even in dating, you know.
All
I
right.
love it. That's good stuff. You
That is
know,
good stuff.
um, I think I would say that at the end of the day, compassion is required, but covenant is optional. So you have to ask yourself, which one are you? Because when it regards love, like we so much operate as feeling driven as opposed to being faith driven. And love is not about a feeling, it's really about choosing responsibility where God is calling you to. And we have to ask ourselves, am I prepared to choose to be responsible there? If you're going to choose as a man, especially that you're going to take on that responsibility, then you got to have the discipline it takes to love in all seasons, to love
Mhm.
come hell or high water, to love when the parameters around you saying I do have changed. But you committed and said, I'm gonna stick this thing out. You got to be really prepared to for that reality that you don't do as those bad spades players and you renege because you've been dealt a bad hand.
Uh-huh.
At the end
Mhm.
of the day, you got to realize, you know what? If you know what you're doing, I can win with a bad hand because you got to know as you're a person of faith who your partner is. And at the end of the day, even in real life in a spades game, I can win this hand if I learn what you got in your hand and I learn how to play off of you or set you up, based upon what I know, what you cut. I know what to throw out to set you up. Same thing in life and in relationship is that you have to know that in life, my partner is God. So I'm going to be able to get through whatever situations I face with because I understand who my partner is. At the end of the day, my partner has what I don't have. And even naturally with people, right? Even in this human partnership, you got what I have, even in sickness, in health, even in rich or poor, you still have what I don't have. So the reason that I love you, the reason that I may have fallen in love with you, does not change because you are sick,
Mhm.
right? That there are some preferences that I have that may change as sort of your sick, but you're still the same soul. You're still the same woman of God. You're still the same. Like your countenance does not change, even if your aesthetic changes.
Yeah.
That's why I'm big on a man. You better fall in love with the gift inside of her because the rap paper gonna fade away. Then you gonna tear it off, and eventually it's gonna be gone, and you'll be
Mhm.
left with just the gift. So have you appreciated the gift that she is? Because if you have, that's when you're in a position now saying, you know what? I really love her completely because you have realized I don't just love the part of her that I need. I love the part of her that needs me. And if you believe that God put you all together, then God knew ahead of time that person was going to be sick. So maybe God brought you to this person, and maybe God gave you the oil for the assignment. And that's why I said you got to choose the responsibility where God is calling you to. I think we make things inside the church sometimes so spooky that we don't
Mm.
realize God always gives you a choice.
Right.
And when you think that, how do I do that? Ask yourself, you're naturally gifted to do a lot of things, and
Mhm.
God is giving you that oil, right? And if you're already with that person, even if it's not sickness, it might be like we talk more about physical sickness. It might be emotional sickness. It
Right.
Yeah.
might be a mental illness,
That's
right?
right.
And
Yeah.
and it, or Carl, it might be a spirit.
Come on.
You know what
Mm.
I'm saying? That's on that person.
I equally
But but
yoked.
but
Yeah.
but do you have do you have inside of you? You know, what Peter and John say, in the name of Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Dude, you got some in the name in you.
Come on.
You got some power to be able to call something out of somebody, or give somebody strength to be able to walk right. Right? A lot of times, that's what we don't realize, is that even with that, it's still practical, because you got to be bold, and you got to know who you are. You got to know whose you are, and you got to know what you carry.
Yeah.
See, we make it about that person. No, it's about you.
Right.
They sick, but what's your integrity?
Come on.
Can you still walk with that person?
Come on.
Yeah.
Can you still talk with that person? Can you still love that person? Because let's flip it. What if it's you?
Ooh.
Right.
If it's me, man, I'm gonna still want her to love me. I'm gonna still want her, because you made a point earlier, Carla. You talked about you said people could lose a job, and you're right, and that might create sickness in the mind, insecurity, sickness, right? So I'm gonna want this person to still commit to me. Matter of fact, I'm gonna want you to do like, I'm gonna end here. Back in the day, in biblical days, when the vineyard went bad, they didn't disregard it. They dug deeper.
Yeah.
We don't know how to dig deep now and go beyond what you see, because there might be some good soil under this surface level, but you focused on it don't look right. Yeah, but if you dig a little deeper,
come on,
right? And that's sometimes got to be burned to realize, you know what? But when it grew back, it grew back something like you had never seen. Because I promise I'm in right here. Sometimes the healing happens on the other side of the Jordan. Right. But sometimes it might happen here, but not in your time. So what happens when this person with cancer, now they have fell out, right?
Right.
But they caught their cancer in stage 2.
Right.
That person might always have to live with a little bit of cancer, but you might not be able to tell once they recover.
Right.
And if you made the decision to leave because you left during the chemo, and you left when the doctor said, I don't know. But then God stepped in and said, you don't know who I am.
Right.
In the words of Jay-Z, allow me to reintroduce myself.
That's it.
I am Jehovah Ra. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when God steps in and shows you that he is a healer, now this person's in a winning season. And you left in a losing season.
Come on.
You can't come back.
You can't.
Because you left me, and I understand why you left, because you didn't know, and I don't hold it against you.
Yes.
But you got to understand, I forgive you, but forgiveness does not mean I have to build a bridge back to you.
Ooh. Wow.
We said a mouthful today. You definitely just ended us on with a whole mouthful there. I feel that this does hit home for many, because it happens. It's happened to me as far as dealing with health challenges. It's happened to people I've been in a relationship with, and you got to make some choices. Like, is this what you really want? Are you really willing to tough this out, or be real with yourself and say, I'm not, but say that up front? Wow. Thank y'all so much for the show today, man. Y'all, we hit a heavy topic, y'all. This was a heavy one today, but I appreciate that. Thank y'all so much for joining me. We just gonna all go out together. I feel like it's church. We just gonna all in together today.
Collection plate. Take that.
Right. But hopefully y'all join us next week, because we're gonna be talking about something a little different. We're gonna be talking about some singles and their love story. Okay, what's your love story? Did it come to fruition, or did it not? Why not? We're gonna be talking about that, because we've talked a lot about things that have hindered the relationship. Now we're gonna talk about, let's see if it go a little further. Are we gonna make it to the altar? All right. So, yes, I can't wait to see y'all next week. Join us back with the So Free and Single with Z podcast. Make sure that you get on my YouTube, Zeducation LLC, and like, subscribe, and join us back next week. Join in the conversation. We'd love to hear what you got to say. All right, y'all. Have a great evening, and thanks for joining us.